Bhakti.
How are you, Prabhu?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Fine, fine.
¿Está descansando?
No, estamos preparando para mañana la distribución de prasada.
Oh.
Preparando todo.
Dhanyavad Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Dhanyavad Pandita Day.
Dhanyavad Devashis Prabhu.
Dhanyavad.
Other devotees, Dhanyavad.
How are you?
I'm okay. Going on. How are you, Didi?
You're okay? Going on?
Yeah, same thing. Andando.
Rápido, rápido.
Yeah, well, I'm a little slow in my
Maharaj is waiting.
Ah, good. I'm good that he's waiting. But...
Hello.
Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Welcome. Oh.
Who's Krishna Chaitanya?
Dhanyavad Maharaj. I'm from Ukraine.
Ukraine. Okay. So you're here in that London, in the London program. It's jolly good show, old chap. Jolly good show.
In answer to your earlier question, Maharaj, British summertime begins on Gaur Purnima. Yeah.
Daylight savings time on Gaur Purnima.
Yeah.
And then we should call it golden savings time.
Yeah.
Krishna Chaitanya, where are you?
In Ukraine.
Oh, you're in
City.
Ukraine?
Yes, I am.
Oh. How is the weather there?
Around 0.
Oh, wow.
Hello. Hello. Come in the door.
Here, the weather is what the heater says. It says 68 degrees, the heater, so that's what it's here at night it goes to about 0 degrees at night, maybe 2 or 3 degrees. Hey, Gorachandra.
Dhanyavad Maharaj.
¿Por qué tienes apagado? Ah, ya, las luces prendidas.
Sí.
Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad Falguni, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y usted?
Bien, bien.
Muy bueno verlo.
Yep. What are you serving in your restaurant?
Good. Just in case that we don't know that yet. What? Nothing, Maharaj. Now it's just burgers, things like that.
Oh, burgers. Oh, good. Nothing like a good burger.
Yeah, chicken burger. We do a lot of chicken burger.
Oh.
No real chicken.
Nothing like a good
Yeah.
chicken burger.
Yeah, no, people love it. You know, you call it chicken and you make something. You know what is Satan, Maharaj? Ah.
What did they say?
No, we serve something called Satan, which is you know what is that? That is done with the gluten of the wheat and you flavor it and things. But basically, it's bread and bread and bread. So they're buying a bread sandwich.
No, that's Satan.
Yeah.
Satan. Yes, Satan, get thee behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
Satanas, Satan.
That's what we do. Bread, a lot of bread.
No, Satan is not bread.
But it's, it's the gluten of the wheat, basically. So yeah.
Well, everything is earth. Everything comes from earth, and yet we are not eating mud.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you put it like that, okay.
All right.
Anyways, how are you?
Good.
I'm very sure that you were talking something amazingly important, and I just crashed and talking about burgers.
No, but I heard that we were doing conferences in Salt Lake City, but on Friday, but now they're all virused up in the temple.
Really?
Nyasi Mars too.
He got the virus.
They got the virus.
Yikes.
Yikes. Yikes.
And Ashramars just got a vaccine from China.
Wow.
Well, better nothing.
Yeah.
I heard the Russian vaccine was pretty good. I don't know why they don't get it, why they don't have it in Mexico.
Look at this, Maharaj.
But you have to hold it. It's not focused. Okay, what is it?
That's a bowl. Also, we do a lot of bowls. You see that, like a chana masala with hummus and sweet potato and cabbage and rice. It's a bowl.
The bowl.
We call it Buddha bowl, and I want to put a Hari bowl.
You call it rabbit bowl.
Rabbit bowl. No, it's very good. It has the chickpeas from the chana masala. That's very good.
Yeah, you can call it rabbit bowl. All right, so back to more serious subjects. I'm happy to see everyone, but I don't see, let me see. I'll go from speaker view to gallery view. Gallery view, I see Gaurachandra, Krishna Chaitanya, Pandita, SCS Mott, West London, Elmira. SCS Mott, London, bookcase,
Yeah.
or something.
Bookcase, yeah.
Bookcase.
Bookcase and ceiling.
Bookcase and ceiling. We're seeing the ceiling with feeling. Okay. And Devashish, yeah, and Saraswati and her sister. Saraswati.
Dandavat, Maharaj, Dandavat. Dandavat to everyone.
Dhanyavad, Saraswati Di.
How many sisters you have, Saraswati?
We are 5.
Who?
There's 6.
No. We are 5 sisters and we have 7 brothers.
What?
Like
Wow.
stepsister.
All right, yes, true.
Who are your sisters?
And one.
There is one, and Krishna Mohini over there. Then I got 2 more. 4 more. I lost count now.
That's what happens when there's no television.
Television. You're married to one sister.
I know.
Yeah.
It hadn't escaped my notice.
It hasn't.
And a very holy family they are.
Yeah, nice, nice. I don't know who's Ananga Krishna though.
Dandavad Maharaj from Tijuana.
Oh, the Tijuana. What are you doing in the London temple?
I wish.
Wait a minute.
Dandavas, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Anurad Shama Malini Di.
Dandavas, Prabhu. You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Where are we? Where? Shama Malini.
Dandavas, Maharaj.
Dandavat. Oh. What am I gonna do? Yeah, 1 second. I have to send a message. Okay. Where is that Pandit? Okay. All right. Saraswati. Where's Ishanuga?
Ishanuga Maharaj is asking for you.
Dandava Maharaj.
Dandavat. We want a group picture. I want a group picture of Ishanuga, Saraswati, and Krishna Mohini.
How can we get together?
We live in London and we hardly see her.
You what?
We live in London and we hardly see Ishanuga. Maybe once a year if we are lucky.
She has to, Devashis has to take her to the West London temple next time he goes.
Yes, that's right.
Is that true?
Yes, of course.
And there's Samantha. Huh.
Dandavad Maharaj.
Dandavat.
Dandavad.
How are you?
I'm very well with your mercy and your grace, Maharaj.
Me? What have I got to do with this?
Very well.
Hey, Shama Mohini, Shama Malini, we only see the deities.
By consensus, we have to make our own meaning.
Maharaj, hold on. Sorry, I'm a bit shy. Can you see me now, Maharaj? Sorry.
No, I see only the light.
Oh, sorry, hold on. Okay.
Fulgence coming from.
Okay, 1 second. I've got
The fulgence coming from the fulgence coming from the chair. Oh,
I got it wrong, sorry. Oh gosh.
Lakshmi Kanti, ¿qué pasó?
Let's go for the point though.
Huh?
I don't think Lakshmikant is actually online. I think she's downstairs doing something.
Saraswati Devashis or one other.
What's that?
Give me.
You need to mute Mohini. Krishna, SCS Mac West London. There is a lot of background noise.
Seems like they're
Muted.
broadcasting over BBC. And Lakshmi, still, Shama Malini can't see you. Although we're seeing the
Maharaj,
you.
video la.
How
Video.
about, and how about Lakshmi Kanti?
Yeah, la lipe.
Krishna, sorry.
Non, les perloseuses, perlo télévision là. Yeah.
Yananga Krishna, que pasión.
¿Qué pasotes con esos zapatotes?
Con queso. Pues ya sabrás, paquetes dilo. Pues ya sabrás, paquetes dilo.
Ya sábanas, ¿para qué cobijas?
Okay, Shama Malini. And now Lakshmi Kanti still has a picture of Acharya Maharaj and Gurudev.
Dhanavad Maharaj, is Krishna Kishore. Lakshmi Kanti will be joining shortly. I told her you're asking for her though.
Oh, how about showing yourself then?
Nobody wants that, Maharaj. Nobody wants that.
We can see Shama Malini now. Now back to the deities.
Sorry. Okay.
Just touching all the bases. Krishna Kishore. Madhu Gopal.
Dandava Maharaj, Dandava Soldier.
¿Dónde estás? Where's Madhu Gopal and where?
Mexico, no?
Tijuana, México, Maharaj, Tijuana, aquí en México.
Ah, estamos.
Con Jai Balan.
Ándale, pues ya estamos fumigados con personas de Tijuana.
Lo esperamos en Tijuana, Maharaj.
¿Ah? Yo les voy a ver pronto. Yo creo que pase el programa de Srila Govinda Maharaj y voy a Tijuana, en rumbo a México.
Oh, qué bien, Maharaj.
Todos estaban muy contentos acá, Maharaj, con esas noticias.
Ok, bueno, todavía no es noticia porque no he ido.
Con el anuncio previo.
No. Anuncio previo. La mentira previa. Okay. No. Okay. I'm happy to see everyone. Although, I came an hour early because we switched the clocks here. I came at instead of 7 o'clock, I came at 6 o'clock, and I called David. I couldn't find anybody, and they wouldn't let me into the Zoom. And I called up Devashis. Where is everybody? I can't get in. He says, "Oh, because you're an hour early, because they changed the clocks here." I don't know why America has to do everything wrong. Why do they have to change the clocks 2 weeks before everybody else? It's very strange. But then again, we have some solace. Any country that would vote for Trump can't be all bad.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We have a usual question from Anonymous.
Anonymous. Okay.
Which I suspect is the person masquerading as Chinmoy.
Oh. Who's Moto E?
Don't know.
Ananda Moy Maharaj, Dandavats.
Dandavat. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, gracias. Muy bien aquí. Thank you for sharing.
Where are you?
En Tijuana, aquí, en la ciudad de Tijuana, México.
Ah, okay. Oh, wow. A lot of people from Tijuana today.
Mm.
And there's Lakshmi Kanti. Okay. Dandavat Lakshmi. And now a question from Anonymous.
Yes, man. Okay, so it says, last week you spoke of nearly being slapped by Gurudev. The
About
scripture about nearly being slapped by Gurudev. I don't know if you remember that, but anyway, the scriptures generally state that the only way we can please and satisfy Krishna is through serving, pleasing, and satisfying the spiritual master. How are we to know if our service attempts are pleasing and satisfying or not to Hari Guru Vaishnavas? Apart from the obvious action of asking them directly, what other means can we use when physical proximity is not possible?
Uh-huh. Now, what was the first part that Anonymous said I spoke last week about what?
About nearly being slapped by Gurudev.
About slaps?
Yeah, that you were nearly slapped by Gurudev, you mentioned last week.
That was because Rasabdi came between me and Gurudev's slapping hand. Okay, so how can we tell if what we're doing is pleasing to Gurudev?
Yes.
And I take it this question is meant when he's A, not physically present, or B, possibly no longer on this earthly plane. Either one.
Yeah, they say, what other means can we use when physical proximity is not possible?
When physical proximity is, but it's always been that way. It's always been that way, you know. We have a relationship with Gurudev, and out of our sincerity and our heart, we're trying to serve Gurudev, and you know, the only way we can know, apart from asking him, is based on, you know, the purity of our heart, or our based on trying to sincerely serve Gurudev. Now, even with Gurudev present, we may not know. You know, like one time Gurudev was showing some deities. They were covered with they were wrapped with some newspaper. They just come from the Murtiwala. And he showed those deities. They put them on the, you know, in front of Guru Maharaj's samadhi. They were on that marble outside the samadhi, but on the marble floor there in front of the samadhi. And Gurudev unwrapped the face of the deities, and it was very beautiful. And then I asked something like, I mean, this is kind of my typical question, but I asked, oh, when are those deities going to Sokel? He hadn't said that they were going to Sokel, but I asked, when are the deities going to Sokel? And then he talked about it, and then they went to Sokel. They're the deities we're worshiping here. Shishi Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhari. And I said, oh, later, maybe a year or two later, I said, oh, Maharaj, when did When did you decide that those deities would be going for Sokel? And he said, I didn't, you did. So sometimes we can, what's the word? We can put our own desires on Gurudev, and we don't know how much is coming from ourselves and how much is coming from Gurudev. We're trying to serve Gurudev, we're praying for his mercy, and we're offering to Gurudev, but we don't know if what we're offering is sometimes what Gurudev wants or what we want. Is that, I'm saying that is possible, isn't it? That
For sure.
we are juxtaposing our own desire. Oh, I will offer this to Gurudev, but like when you're cooking and then you offer to a picture of Gurudev, but you're not specifically going through the menu and choosing everything that Gurudev likes to eat, right?
Right.
So I think, what Gurudev is actually accepting is the love in your offering, the love in your heart. That's what Gurudev is accepting. So if you're sincerely offering to Gurudev that love and desire to serve him, then Gurudev will accept that. That's what I believe, So the Anonymous, come in. Anonymous, he's done. Tú puedes ir ahí, está abierto todo. So Anonymous is saying, how can we tell if our offering is being accepted by Gurudev? But we're not offering material things. We're offering that, like what Gurudev would say, Bhava Grahi Janardana. He says, that the Lord is accepting the love that we're offering to him. That's the saying, Bhava Grahi Janardana. It's a political advertisement. When Gurudev explained that saying, Bhava Grahe Janardan. When you eat, think of Janardan. That's what it means. That's what that. See, like Gaurachandra's eating. I caught you, Gaurachandra.
Okay. Sorry,
No.
sorry.
It's okay. Just offer a few spoonfuls to Janardan. It'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about Janardan by that time.
So anyway, like I'm saying to Anonymous, I never found out who Anonymous is, but actually Gurudev is accepting, just like the Lord. Gurudev's accepting the love that you offered him. Of course, if Gurudev asks you particularly to bring him something, like we always hear the example, if Gurudev asks for a glass of water and you think, oh, milk is better than water, I'll offer him milk, I'll bring him milk. Then that may not be very pleasing to Gurudev because maybe he didn't want milk. He asked you for water. He's not asking for you for milk. He's asking you for water. So offer him what he asks for. But even then, there may be some other other consideration. Like I saw, well, I mean, this doesn't sound good, but it was actually very nice. And Gurudev, you know, he had received some envelopes, offerings to him, and letters. And he would open the envelopes and he'd see that there was a letter written in English, but he'd say, oh, there's no offering in this, meaning the person hadn't included, you know, I mean, so to speak, the offering would be, you know, something, some offering to Gurudev, maybe some money along with the envelope. So maybe if Gurudev asked for a glass of water and I brought him a glass of water and I also gave him a monetary offering, he would be happy with that, even though he didn't ask for the monetary offering. But he would be happy with that. Anyway, I'm just saying there. I saw that too once with Srila Prabhupada. I thought it was very funny. One devotee named Vishal. This devotee I knew named Vishal, and his wife's name, somehow or other, his wife's name was Vishalini. It was Vishal and Vishalini. But anyway, this Vishal, he offered this glass bowl to Srila Prabhupada. It was a glass bowl, nice, like kind of a crystal bowl, decorative. And he gave that to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, you are offering this bowl empty? And then Vishal, he got kind of nervous, and then he started reaching in his pocket, and he started putting money into the bowl. And then at one point, Srila Prabhupada stopped and he looked at him, and then Vishal got nervous again and put more money into the bowl. But I thought that was... Anyway, I'm just saying, if you're, you know, like the Lord says, if you offer me a leaf, some water, fruit, or leaf, water, fruit, or what else?
Flower.
Huh?
Flower.
Yeah, leaf, flower, water, fruit. Patram pushpam polam toyam. Okay. If you offer me that with love and devotion, I will accept that. But again, we're saying it's the idea is you're offering it with love and devotion. So if you're offering seva to Gurudev and you're offering it with loving devotion, he will accept it. And I heard where Srila Sridhar Maharaj, in one of his lectures, he said, and if you have nothing else to offer to Gurudev, he said, you can offer him your tears. Tears. So, you know, he said, if you have nothing else to offer to Gurudev, you can offer him your tears. So, I mean, that is the kind of offering that we're, you know, trying to do to Gurudev. We're trying to offer him something from our heart. And if we can sincerely do that, it will be pleasing to Gurudev. You know, if what you're doing, if what you're offering is offered with love and devotion, then Gurudev will be satisfied with that. Now, because I'm foolish, I may make some mistakes. I may offer something to Gurudev that he really doesn't want. I'll give you an example of that. One time, I remember one devotee offered some land to Srila Gurudev's, to Srila Govinda Maharaj, and it was in Colombia, and he said he wanted to offer this land to have a project for Srila Govinda Maharaj in Colombia, in some remote place of Colombia, you know. And Gurudev just said frankly to him, he said, what am I going to do with your land? He said, I'll never be able to go there. And Gurudev he honestly didn't express any interest in it. Now that devotee was a valiant collector of Gurudev's. Gurudev particularly, had a close relationship with the person. So that person could understand that Gurudev really didn't feel that he had much use for him offering this land to him. So the end result was that devotee told Gurudev, all right, I will sell this land and I will give you the offering of the... And actually, it may sound a little strange, but that was really pleasing to Gurudev. That's something that he didn't see the point of somebody buying some land in a remote place that wasn't really necessarily integrated into the mission or movement or anything. And Gurudev honestly didn't express. He said to the devotee, what am I going to do with this offering? And that was because he had a frank enough relationship with that devotee, had a close enough relationship with the devotee that maybe you couldn't do that with anybody, some other persons. If someone else said, I bought some land for you here and I'm developing a project there, then Gurudev would say, oh, that's very nice and everything like that. But with this particular person, he had a close relationship. Gurudev said, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this property? He said, I'll never go there. And I don't have, he said that was because their relationship was close enough that Gurudev expressed that this is really not what I'm kind of interested in so much. Now that sounds to us like, oh, well, that's kind of heavy. No, it wasn't heavy. Gurudev could express himself to that devotee.
Dandava Maharaj, Dandava devotees.
Dandava. ¿Cómo estás? How are you, Ananta Govinda?
Good. Very good, thank you. And you?
And me? And you? I'm good. And you?
Fine, thank you, fine.
And you? And where's your family?
Southampton, near Karuna.
They're what?
Near Karuna and Nitai Chand.
Karuna and Nitai Chand. Where's that? No sound.
Southwest.
Southampton.
Oh, Southampton. Oh, we went to Hampton Court, right?
Yeah, that's nowhere near Southampton. Southampton's on the coast.
Okay. And in Hampton Court, somebody lost their head there, right?
Yeah.
Enrique, oh, ambulance.
What? Who was that? They had that song. With her head tucked underneath her arm, she walks. Is that relation to Hampton Court?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
All right. Anyway, one way you can tell if Gurudev wants something, you can ask him. And if Gurudev's no longer present in this world, I guess you're home free. then you can more with free consciousness. You can say, "Oh, Gurudev, I got you this chocolate bar." No. But, okay, well, no, I'm just saying the obvious factor is to offer something from your heart with love and devotion. And that's why Guru Maharaj said, if you have nothing else, you can offer your tears. So that's the idea that we're conveying, with something done sincerely from your heart. Then you can kind of feel that, all right, I'm trying to sincerely, as best I can, I'm a fallen soul, but I'm trying to serve Gurudev with this offering. And then, please, Gurudev, accept this. I mean, that seems to me like a fairly valid way of knowing if something's pleasing to Gurudev, to do things in that way. Subhasini, how are you?
Dandavats Maharaj. Yeah, I am fine. Good to see you, Maharaj. Yeah.
Nice to see you too. I recently saw one lady who was showing Irish dances.
Okay.
It was on the. She was not from Ireland, but apparently there are people from all over the world doing Irish dancing, and she was very good. So.
Okay.
And now the president here, his family's from Ireland.
Okay.
And I mentioned that before, though. The vice president, her mother's from India.
Yes.
From Tamil Nadu.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that to me is kind of interesting. You know, that we have actually somebody whose mother, you know, her family in India is happy that she became the first lady vice president, the first person who's Indian, and the first person who's black, because her father's from Jamaica, her mother's from India. What is this? Hello? It just says scam likely. So you're a scam, so I'm not interested. Although they didn't even say anything, it just said scam likely. So I'm figuring they're probably scamming me just by the fact I answer the phone. We're now tapped into your bank account. I heard that there's some scams where all they have to do is get you to answer, and then now you're ours.
That happened to Lakshmi Kanti when she first came to the country. She had a phone and she answered, and it was transferred some satellite call around the world at about $5 a minute or something.
Oh, wow. Just see. All right. Any more questions from Anonymous? Was Anonymous okay with that answer?
No. Well, we haven't had any. Oh, hang on. Okay, right. Here's some. We just received a follower. On Sunday's Zoom meeting, you spoke of the glories of Judamanyu Prabhu, including how he pushed past boundaries and legal rules of the Chinese country at times to preach, which Gurudev wanted. How are we to harm?
How he what?
He said how he pushed past boundaries and legal rules of the Chinese country at times to preach, which Gurudev wanted. How are we to harmonize?
Actually, I will say, in one sense, he didn't push past the legal rules of China because he was hired as an English teacher in the university. And he did teach English in the university, and all of his students, they learned English very well. So maybe along with the English, he injected some Krishna consciousness. But still, the purpose for which he was hired was to teach English. And I saw by the results that all these Chinese girls, they learned English. They also learned about Krishna consciousness, so I feel they got a dividend.
Sure.
Okay.
So so the question is, how are we to harmonize the discomfort we experience within us when pushing past our comfort zone and surrendering our false ego to preach as Gurudev wants us to do for the fallen conditioned souls?
So I didn't get the whole question. How are we
to harmonize the discomfort we experience within us when pushing past our comfort zone and surrendering our false ego to preach as Gurudev wants us to do for the fallen conditioned souls?
Well, obviously anonymous is probably not so old, because just by being old and breathing, one is pushed beyond one's comfort zone. Like this material body, when it gets old anyway, it's already beyond its comfort zone. So how are we to push beyond our comfort limits to what?
Hang on.
To be able to preach?
Yeah, hang on, I've lost it. Where is it, Ishanuga?
You just said it.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's on WhatsApp, sorry. Okay.
How are we to be able to push past our comfort zones?
Surrender our false ego to preach as Gurudev wants us to do. And I think that in gist, the question is, that maybe we don't feel very comfortable when we're preaching to people, but we know that Gurudev wants us to preach. So how do we push past that uncomfortable discomfort that we might experience, like approaching people? Perhaps that's what that means.
I don't know. It's kind of like Krishna consciousness is like a valuable jewel. It's many faceted, meaning it has many different, a jewel is cut so it has so many different planes, and light can be reflected from so many hundreds and hundreds of planes. A good jewel is cut like that very nicely. So, there's different approaches and different ways for different persons. Not everybody will have the same way of approaching preaching. But I heard actually last Saturday in Soquel, they had a film of Srila Govindamar speaking, and someone asked, how can we become good preachers? And then Govindamar said first, he said, well, there's different levels of preaching. So he said somebody may just preach, in a general way, like chant and be happy. That could be one way of preaching. Somebody may basically be telling persons chant and be happy, or something based on one's own experience. And I can give one feeling I've had on that respect is that if I was at home and I was eating dinner and some friend of mine, or somebody not friend, just somebody who came to visit me, came while I was eating dinner, assuming I had enough, I would ask the person to sit down and take dinner with me. I'd serve them. I wouldn't feel very comfortable just eating in front of the person. I would probably say, please sit down, let me have some dinner, we'll take together. That's normal. I mean, that's a very normal way of dealing with it. Somebody comes to your house while you're eating and you offer them, oh, I just have this, would you like to have some? And they They may say, no, 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 I'm okay. But they may, if you have, you could say, no, here, please sit down. And somebody's, if you're married like Devashis would, and he would sit down, and the person, would want to eat with Devashis, and he'd say, no, my wife cooked this, or I cooked this, and here, please, you take with us. And okay, then he would take it. So that's one way. That's kind of akin to the idea that if you have something that's palatable, you want to share it with somebody. So you'll one way of preaching is that I have found, this Krishna consciousness is very nice, and you want to share it with somebody. And that happens in diverse ways. I mean, sometimes when I'm traveling, I'll just start talking to people about just random subjects. Sometimes I'll talk to them about, sports. I may mention something. They're a little surprised because I'm dressed as a sannyasi. I'm dressed like a monk, and it may be something completely outside their range of experience. And I'm now talking to them about, something that happened on Sunday in a football game or something, and they're surprised. Oh, this strange monk person is talking to me about football. And then sometimes it just depends. Sometimes they really open up and they say, oh yeah, that was incredible, or this or that. Then they say, yeah, but I didn't like this. And then you get a whole discussion going about sports. The idea is, I'm preaching. In order to be able to preach, you have to get the other person to say something. You want to know where the other person is at. Just like I gave the example once. One person went on and he just started preaching for, 40 minutes. And he never inquired to find out if there was any level of communication between himself and the other person who he was talking to, who he had just met. And at the end, when he was done, that person told him, well, I think dolphins are smarter than humans. That was the reply that he got from the person after preaching to him for almost an hour. The person said, I think dolphins are smarter than humans. And this devotee was so taken aback. He'd been preaching to this guy for an hour. Then later he saw Srila Prabhupada and he said, oh, Prabhupada, someone told me he thinks dolphins are smarter than humans. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him like, what? Srila Prabhupada looked at him and said, dolphins, what have they ever done? They don't have any cities. They don't have any airplanes. But why did that all happen? Because he never established. First Guru Maharaj said, tell me what is your conception, what is your opinion, or hear something from the person. Now, maybe in the course of establishing some conversation with somebody, then conversation may or may not, depending on how long it lasts, but may last to the point where I've established that to this other person, that I'm a human being. I'm not just some bald-headed freak that wearing a dress that he walked up to him on a plane or something. And then he'll say something and I'll talk to them and we'll have some communication. Then you can preach. So then there's that idea I said. One is one level of, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's just throw something out to the wind. And then there's the level of sharing something with someone, something that's important to you. But Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said, well, there's a general level of preaching, which we're talking about now. But then he said, but in order to be a preacher, you have to really have some understanding from, that you have that you're a little learned. Anybody can preach. Anybody at all can preach. But if you really want to be a preacher, then you have to have some level of learning or something that you know of the scriptures, of the books, and you can convey to persons something more of you know, of what is actually Vaishnavism, as much as you know, that in other words, we're talking about the different levels of preaching. And if you talk about the Acharya, then the Acharya will understand that he is able to convey to you different levels of understanding of Krishna consciousness. So that may require, to actually be a preacher, you have to exert yourself a little bit to be able to be prepared. In other words, if you don't have any money in your own bank account, how can you give out something? In other words, by your bank account, meaning if you want to distribute something to somebody, you have to have something in your own account. So there's that. So how can you go beyond your comfort zone? That's what Anonymous is asking. And if you really want to go beyond your comfort zone, then you have to prepare yourself a little bit to go beyond your comfort zone. Maybe you're not comfortable preaching, but maybe if you prepare yourself a little bit, you will be not so uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know if I'm communicating very well on this subject, but it would seem to me that one has to be able to have some actual property in order to be able to give something to someone else. Does that make sense?
Yes, Maharaj.
Well, anyway, as far as Anonymous saying, how do you go beyond your comfort zone? I guess it will vary according to who the person is. You know, and it depends on what your comfort zone is. Now, for instance, talking, because he related this in terms of Yudamanyu. Now, Yudamanyu, he, as I said, he was able to go in as an English teacher, and to the students, he was known as their English teacher, and as they developed an affectionate relationship with him, then they knew him as Yuda, not short for Yudamanyu. They'd know him as Yuda because the name Yudamanyu may not be immediately pronounceable by Chinese people, although many of the Chinese names are also not pronounceable by us. But he was able to do that by his surrender to Srila Govinda Maharaj. He's a very surrendered soul to Srila Govinda Maharaj, and his only interest was, will this be pleasing to you? And if Govinda Maharaj said yes, then he would do that. So that's how he could go beyond his comfort zone, because his comfort zone was that he wanted to do something pleasing to Srila Govinda Maharaj. That was what he wanted to do, so he was comfortable doing that. But then additionally, he went into China as a teacher. So if you consider, you know, as a teacher, I mean, there are different levels. If someone's going to be, for instance, a guru, one level of being a guru is to be a teacher, you know, and one level you can say, just like, what is it, Dronacharya, he's an Astra guru, right? He could teach about weapons. Then, you know, there are different, just as there are levels of what is it, the seven mothers, you know, the wet nurse, the one's biological mother, the planet Earth, the wife of the guru, etc. There's seven mothers. So there's also different, according to different cultures and everything. Being a teacher is one kind of being a guru, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
They're accepting him as a position of being a teacher because he's teaching English. So in one sense, he's a guru. When I went years before that, I was living 6 months in Hong Kong because Srila Prabhupada asked me to be in Hong Kong. And I would go around in sannyas clothes, and when I would go onto the ferry, which goes between Kowloon and Hong Kong, I would sit down, and sometimes I would sit next to some Chinese person, and they would immediately get up and go sit somewhere else because they really didn't want to know. They didn't want to be. They didn't feel comfortable being next to what looks like a Buddhist monk or a monk of some sort, and especially a Western monk. They just thought, "Uh-oh, I don't really want to be here." So they would change seats, thinking that, I don't know, that next to this monk, what's this monk going to say or do as far as, and I'm not really interested in hearing anything. So they would change seats. So I was in sannyas beige, sannyas clothes, and it was really not always an opportunity to speak to anyone. They didn't instinctively in modern Hong Kong. They knew about Buddhist monks and they didn't want to know about them. So, but I saw that on the same ferry or something going, the boat, the Mormons would be there, and the Mormons would be dressed in coat and tie with their little name plates. And many times, as part of their missionary work, they actually learned a little Chinese, but that's beside the subject, beside the point. They were there, and many of the Hong Kong people didn't feel as uncomfortable with them as maybe they would with me, because I'm looking a little out of the ordinary. They're looking at me and thinking, he's a monk, but he's not Chinese. Rather, he looks Westerner. So he's a Western monk, in kind of this Buddhist color robes, and we don't really want to be next to this weirdo. That would be kind of I'm projecting. Let me just get a glass of water. So in that situation, they might have been more comfortable with me if I was an English teacher in their school. But, of course, Yudamanyu went way beyond any comfort zone because he lived there for 13 years, which is, to me, almost unimaginable that he could be in China for 13 years. Try going over there and spending a couple weeks there, and then tell me how some devotees I knew, some devotees like the daughter of Bhakti Bandava Puri Maharaj, her name is Bimala. She went and had a job in China, and she lived there like 3 years or something like that, 2 or 3 years. And if you look at her, she's not a big person. She's this fairly small girl, and she almost, when she went there, she almost looked like a very young, like a teenager or something. But she was a little older than that. But she went there. Well, she was maybe 19 when she went there. And she went there, and because it was a good, by standards of where she was before, because she couldn't get a good employment in America, she had a pretty good job there teaching English also in China, and she thrived there. And for 3 years or something, she lived in China. She wasn't at all bothered by it. Where someone else got the same job and went there and couldn't last more than 2 months, 2 or 3 months, was totally disturbed by being, China is a different culture. way different. And if people go to India, devotees go to India, and they get culture shock by going to India. I've seen this. I've seen people get off the plane, get into a taxi, and have the taxi driver act like he doesn't know where he's going so he can run up the fare, and drive them around Calcutta for a couple hours. And by the end of the drive, the person was a man, young man. He asked the taxi driver to take him back to the airport. Went back to the airport, waited till the next day, and flew back to America.
Wow.
Now, I would call that culture shock. You know, while he was driving around in the taxi, while the taxi driver is running up the fare, he's seeing some of the different sights of Calcutta. Obviously could not relate with it. So, you know, I'm saying for somebody to go to China and even teach, not even just preach, teach, then they may suffer from culture shock. Somebody else may not. So the comfort zone for different persons is, you know, people have different comfort zones. But Udamanyu, he didn't have any discomfort in any situation. He preached very successfully in South Africa, made devotees there. Akinchan Maharaj was one of the persons who joined while Udamanyu was preaching in South Africa. So wherever he went, because he had a sincere desire to serve his Gurudev, and he could do that. And for him, there was no discomfort. Someone else may have some discomfort. And, you know, I mean, I can say, okay, I for many years lived in Latin America. I didn't find any discomfort for that. Actually, I like Latin America very much. I feel comfortable there. I sometimes feel less comfortable in America, strangely enough. But I like being I was in Argentina, I was in, you know, many countries. I was in Ecuador, in Colombia, and in Peru, and sometimes I would Brazil. Sometimes I was even in countries in South America that aren't Latin American countries, like in Trinidad and Guyana and stuff like that. And it was always very nice. I always felt very comfortable with the people. But if when Prabhupada told me to open up a temple in Thailand, for instance, I didn't feel so comfortable there. I mean, it's a very beautiful country. It's very nice. But in particular, the Thai persons, not so many of them speak English as they do in India. And to try and communicate with them was, you know, could do it. And they're nice people. But in a country where not so many people speak English and I don't speak Thai, then it was hard for me. Then I met with people, but I wound up mostly meeting with Hindus, to be honest. And some Thais, but mostly Hindus. So I didn't feel that was getting me so far as what I wanted, as far as to be able to be in Thailand to open up a temple there. You know, I'm not going there just to be with Hindus, although they're very helpful and very nice, but I wanted to be able to preach in Thailand, not just, you know. So anyway, for me, and even less comfort zone would be if somebody told me, oh, go open up a temple in Dubai or Saudi Arabia. You know, I would probably feel less comfortable under those circumstances. So then also I have to admit, when I was in China, then I could really appreciate the work of Udamanyu, because he used to tell me, and he would tell other people, when you come here, don't plan on staying for more than 10 days or 2 weeks. And that was a good appraisal by him, because under normal circumstances, you know, it's almost like China is a competing culture in some ways. I mean, in terms of Indian culture, they consider that their culture is as old as Indian culture is. May not be true, because many of Buddhism actually came from India. So their culture is not really older than Indian culture, but you're getting into, you know, quibbling over a few thousand years, maybe, or a few millenniums or whatever. So they could, I mean, they don't, in other words, they don't really feel that they have something that they want to acquire from India. And sometimes in different Asian countries, they have that feeling. Maybe Thailand also. Because most of the Indians and most of the Chinese people they know in Thailand are businessmen. And they're businessmen who've come to establish their economic superiority over Thais. Thais are more a consumer. So the Thais don't necessarily think well of the persons who are trying to sell them something. And China, in terms of China, when you're there, they don't really feel in general that they have something that they want to hear from you about. But when Udamanyu is there as an English teacher, and they're respecting him because they want to learn English from him, and at the same time, they find him very charming and very nice, and he takes a personal interest in them, and he's talking to them, and he's helping them in everything. He's helping them in school. He's helping them. They ask for advice about their families and advice about their boyfriends and all kinds of things, and he's helping them, and they're very much taken by him. And then they all become devotees. They all became devotees. That's the special thing. So he is operating within his comfort zone. But I don't know what is a comfort zone for everybody else. You have to evaluate that yourself. So I can't say, how can you go beyond your comfort zone? You have to be able to think about how strongly do you want to preach? And where is it that you want to preach? Oh, in my own country, in my own language. Even that's difficult for many persons. I mean, if I was living in, for instance, Tennessee, and I had to go out and just, you know, meet people on the street and preach to them, I might not feel so comfortable. I once went to Tennessee, I was traveling, and I got out of the car to make a phone call, and people started making all kinds of noises like animals. And I didn't feel so comfortable. So, anyway, general question. Somebody's asking, how can I go outside my comfort zone? Well, now you have a good opportunity. Anonymous, you can show yourself. You can show yourself. Stop hiding behind the word anonymous. Show yourself and tell us how you really feel. Like they say, somebody says, I really can't stand this person. I really did this, and they did that, and they did this, and this person I really don't like, and they really is. And then I say, oh, okay. And how do you really feel? So, anonymous, come out from behind the word anonymous and show yourself and tell us how you really feel. then we can tell what your comfort zone is. All right. Next question. Another question from Anonymous. Anyway, we've had two questions. Here's one from Pandita.
All right, we hear about Yukta Vairagya and how we can utilize everything in service, right? And then the other day I was thinking about the fourth verse of the Shikshashtakam. Mahaprabhu's saying and praying, na danam, na janam, na sundarim. And I was thinking about that verse, and actually if you really just reflect on it, it means really the end of mundane life. No wealth, no beauty, no like partner, and no followers. And especially if you have a significant social media account, that's
well,
the
wait
end.
a minute. Wait, I have to interrupt. Does it really mean that? Does it really mean that?
That's my question, Marsh.
Mahaprabhu said, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam. All right, he says, na dhanam, na janam. He says, I'm not interested in any number of followers. But he had many, many followers. Mahaprabhu had many, many followers. He wasn't interested in that as a goal of his life, but he did have followers. So just because you honestly accept those words, I'm not interested in wealth, I'm not interested in enjoyment, I'm not interested in followers, I'm not interested. You may not be interested in that, but does that mean you're not going to have any of those things? Does it mean that you may not be interested in wealth, but if it's the Lord's arrangement, that wealth may just fall upon you? You may not have that as your goal, but sometimes things happen that are not your goal, right? So just to say, if we embrace that philosophy, that means we'll be bereft of enjoyment, we'll be bereft of beauty, we'll be bereft of fame, we'll be bereft of wealth. Does it really mean that? It doesn't mean that. Mahaprabhu is just saying, I don't want these things. I only want your service in my life. So you may say, and you may honestly have the understanding that I'm only interested in the Lord's service. But that doesn't mean you're going to be bereft of it. It doesn't necessarily follow. It doesn't necessarily follow that you're going to be bereft of anything. It's just saying that's not your focus.
And Maharaj, does that mean?
Otherwise, you could say with the Bhagavad Gita, it says, you are entitled, what is the verse and saying exactly in Bhagavad Gita where it says that one should not be, you have a right to perform your work, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your work. How's the Gita say that? Devashish, how is it stated? You have a right to.
No, you have no right to the fruits of your action.
What is the actual wording though? David,
I'm looking now.
Dharmanyeva adhikaraste ma palesh kadachana. Maharaj, is that one?
Okay, so can you translate that?
You have the right to the action, but not to the fruits of the action. Don't think you're the
doer.
Doer, yeah.
So what happens if you owned what happens if you owned a business and you told to your workers, you have a right to work very hard, but you have no right to be paid? How would that go over? You have a right to work very hard, but you have no right to be paid.
That's what's happening, Maharaj. I think these days they're trying to reduce payment, make us work like anything, and then thing happens. India.
All right. So anyway, back to Pandita's question. She's saying nadanam na janam na sundarim. Obviously, when Krishna says you have a right to perform your work, you have a right to perform your work, but you're not entitled to the fruits of. In other words, everything should be done as an offering to the Lord, because we're taking that in terms of devotion. We're not taking that in terms of a job that somebody gets with Amazon. Right. So also when Pandita says that I'm not interested in wealth, I'm not interested in followers, I'm not interested in, doesn't mean that one's saying, oh, I'm very happy to be bereft of all these things. It's not the same thing. It just says that's not my focus. I'm not doing this for any of those reasons. I'm not doing this to be popular, because obviously we find quite often by being a devotee you're not popular. Maybe you are with other devotees. I'm joking, of course, but it's not by wearing not by shaving your head and wearing a skirt doesn't necessarily win you any fashion, any followers in terms of what would be at the workplace. Maybe you couldn't. Not everybody could go in with a bald head and sika and wearing robes to their job at the Bank of England, for instance, right? Or to the Parliament building. So, all right.
So Maharaj, it's not a prayer. It shouldn't be interpreted as I do not wish for na danam na janam na sundari. That's not the approach of the verse.
Well, that is the approach of the verse. He's saying, I don't want these. These are not my goals. These are not my goals in life. I don't choose these things as my goals. I'm not interested in wealth. I'm not interested in followers. I'm not. And he showed that. If the king, Maharaj Pratraparudra, wants to meet with him, no, I don't want that. To meet with a king will ruin everything for me in this life and the next. So obviously, it is also shows then Maharaj Pratraparudra saying, oh, is it to be that everybody will get the mercy of Mahaprabhu except a king named Maharaj Pratraparudra? Everybody else will get mercy of him, but not Maharaj Pratraparudra. Well, he did. He ultimately did get the mercy of Mahaprabhu. But anyway, like you're saying, yes, Mahaprabhu is praying. This is not my focus. This is not what I'm trying for. Mama janmani janmanisari bhavatad bhakti rahaitu tvai. The thing I really want is your service in my life, birth after birth. That's really what I want. The other things are of not very much importance to me. They can all fall by the wayside. I don't care about them. And the good thing is, see, Pandita, you're very young, but for us who are old, they have fallen by the wayside. Many of them. Not all, everything. Welcome to the house of old age. All right. So, any more questions? Was that I don't know if I answered the question of you. You didn't really get to the question.
My question was going to be about harmonizing that between trying to utilize everything and then at the same time having that prayer of not wanting to have those things.
Because the prayer is for service.
Mm-hmm.
And in your service, you may be utilizing everything. Whatever you can utilize, you'll utilize that. That prayer is saying, these are not my objectives. My objective is service. So you'll be able to, whatever you have that you can utilize in the service of the Lord, that's good. Okay, well, Devashish.
Yes, Maharaj.
How are you doing? Where's Ishanuga?
She's in the kitchen.
Ah.
Ishanuga.
Oh, I forgot. We're getting to the point of dinner, right? Everybody, I don't want to intrude upon anybody.
Maharaj was asking where you are.
Sorry, Maharaj.
No, don't be sorry. You're doing your service. You're doing, both of you are going to take dinner soon, right?
That's our hope.
So, if you'll ever stop talking long enough for us to sit down at the dinner.
No.
Keep talking, Maharaj.
Okay. And who else is living at your house? Ishanuga and you? Any of your daughters living there?
Yeah, Malini.
Malini. How's she doing?
She's okay, yeah. But she just went back to school last week. They opened the schools again.
Oh, schools are open in London then, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is good because she was, when they were doing the learning online, schooling online, it was just like difficult. Yeah, I think it was quite difficult, not just for her, but for everybody.
It was really difficult for the teachers. You can be sure of that. Because I was talking with Radhika here, and she's a teacher, and she said all the time being bombarded with telephone calls from students.
Yeah.
Which, is nice. It's nice to have a personal contact with the students, but it took up a lot of hours every day.
Yeah.
But how can people go to school and know that they're not spreading virus to each other?
Well, they have they're tested twice a week in the school now. They have a swab test twice a week.
A swab test. Okay.
And a mask.
And they have to wear masks all day in the school.
How can they put a swab up their nose when they're wearing a mask?
Well, yeah. With the exception of when they're testing.
Oh, when they're testing. Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions? Who? Vishnu Priya. Qual Vishnu Priya?
Dandavad, Maharaj.
Where are you?
In Southampton.
In Southampton. Oh. Okay. How far from London is that?
I think is almost 2 hours, 1 hour or something.
Is it nice there?
Yes.
Oh. That was a nice answer. It was kind of like an answer like, of course it's nice. If it wasn't, why would I want to live here? So, it's nice. And so, are you, Lakshmi, you're living in Birmingham or where?
Yes, Maharaj, in Birmingham.
Is it nice there?
I don't know, but I like it more than London. Don't know if it's nicer or not, but I like it more.
Okay.
I don't know any more about England, so just know London and Birmingham.
And Krishna Kishore, are you from there?
Yeah, born here, raised here, so
born and bred.
I'm slightly biased, but Birmingham's like a smaller, it's supposed to be the second biggest city, but in reality, it's like a tenth of the size of London. And you go like 10, 15 minutes in the car any direction and you're in the countryside, so.
Nice. Do you have a car?
Yeah.
Oh, so then it's good. You can get out of Birmingham sometime.
Not now.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, we're still in lockdown. It's easy not.
People can go to school, but they can't get out of Birmingham.
No.
Oh, wow. Just see. All right. Do we have any more questions from anyone?
Yeah. I have a question, kind of. It's not particularly well formulated, but once, like, Acharya Maharaj was, when I first met him, he had said something like, let's say, favorable to me. Like, it wasn't telling me I was stool, so it was not so bad. But to me, it was a little hard to digest that he said something positive, especially as I know my own personality. And so I've kind of always struggled with what he said. And when someone asked the question earlier, how do we know if the guru is pleased with us? It made me think, oh, well, he said something nice, but was he just saying something nice because he's like, oh, I don't want to disturb this person's mind? But if he was not saying something actually positive, then how do I digest that thing? Because it was kind of a positive thing, and it's like sometimes hard to digest and see where I am in reality.
Well, but because that was near the first meeting, right?
Yeah.
And you had more than one meeting with Acharya Maharaj since then, right?
Yeah.
So then relationships evolve. The first meeting, somebody may say this or say that or say this or say that, and it doesn't, it just as an initial conversation or initial comment of person, and then things may develop in terms of the relationship and what is the communication between the two persons. It just doesn't revolve around the initial comment, because I remember when I was first around Govinda Maharaj, you know, sometimes I said things to him that actually annoyed him, you know, because I maybe said something which was a misconception of mine or something that I thought before. And sometimes he would even respond with some kind of like, almost something like, you know, he would say something to maybe say something like that's not very important or something, you know. But those were the initial. I hadn't established a relationship with him, and he didn't know me so well. So from there, you know, that was just initially. In other words, when you're dealing with Gurudev or Sri Guru, you know, you have to establish a relationship with him. So the initial inner reaction that you have with him, it may not be a sign of things to come, or an indication of what's really the foundation or basis of your relationship. It may just be something that he said that was based on his first impression of meeting you, or something that he said. So, now what was your question from that? You said,
Well, I guess, I mean, I don't want to say what it was because I'm a little embarrassed, but he basically said, you are a nice boy. And then he said, maybe in the future you can become a sort of an important personality in London or something like that. And I was just like, okay, no, he doesn't know me clearly. So, and it always weighed on my mind. I'm like, okay, like clearly I'm not that, but then he is telling me, okay, if you do this, you will become this. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this information. It's just weighed on my brain. And I'm just like, okay, like,
well,
surely he just said this to, to say something pleasant and just like, dismiss,
No, but okay. It does indicate to me that he's indicating to you that you're not that I think from meeting you that you're somebody out of the ordinary. You can take it that way. I think from meeting you that you're someone out of the ordinary, and that's a good impression. You made that means that he had some impression of meeting you, that you weren't just an ordinary fool that he might meet in the course of a day.
And so then the next question is, how do we go to kind of fulfill that, whatever he wants of you? And
well, you don't really, that was just the first comments, that you don't really know what he wants of you. He hasn't had at that point he hadn't had a relationship with you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know how to fulfill the relationship? Because as the relationship develops, that you'll obviously hear more from him, or you'll have more conversation, more exchanges. How do you when you meet somebody for the first time, how deep or how succinct is the communication which you established with somebody that you didn't know before?
Mm-hmm.
It's just an initial point.
Mm-hmm.
The relationship with Gurudev is obviously through service. And as you have a service relationship with him, he'll know you better. He'll establish relationships with people as friends. They'll become personally known to Gurudev, and then he'll think of them as his friend. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the way it happens. People have had, for instance, a man meets a woman and they may not even think much of each other. And later the relationship may become very deep. You just,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is known statically. Everything is known potentially and in development.
Mm-hmm.
Srila Sri Maharaj said, everything is known by its potential. So I heard someone gave an example. I mean, this is kind of a far-fetched example, but he's saying, we tend to see things two-dimensionally, or maybe three-dimensionally, but we don't see everything that's going on. So he gave an example. Maybe this is not a nice example. He says somebody jumps out of a skyscraper, and that person sees them go by their window, and they say, "Oh, he's flying." That person is flying. Yeah, that person is flying for now. In another 20 seconds may not be flying so well. But our point of vision is two-dimensional. We're seeing something from our frame of reference, not necessarily from the real frame, not necessarily so deeply and from a real point of reference. We're seeing things two-dimensionally or three-dimensionally, three-dimensionally or four-dimensionally, including the factor of time. But we're not seeing reality. We're not seeing the full development. We're seeing things according to our frame of reference. So for our frame of reference, I'm on the anyway, I don't want to go back to my example. It's not so pleasant. But someone is thinking, oh, he's flying. No, he's not flying. He looks to be flying to you, but it's not really flying. At least if it is flying, he's not having such a good landing. Where's it? All right. I think we're at the end of our tether, so to speak.
That's Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To be continued. To be continued. All right. I'm happy seeing everyone. I feel very good that I can see everyone. Ahí, ¿quién está? All right. I'm seeing devotees in London. Estoy viendo los devotos en Tijuana. Okay. Dandavas to everyone.
Dandavad Maharaj, our great
Dandavad
fortune.
Maharaj.
Hello, Maharaj.
What are you
See you.
Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan
Hello,
Janardan
Maharaj.
Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
What was they going to have, Gaurachandra? One of these gluten, what was it? The gluten thing?
Seitan burger.
Satan.
Yeah. When you come here, we'll make one of those for you, Maharaj.
Well, how come they call it Satan burger?
No, because if you call it like that, people ask you, what is that? But if you call it vegan chicken, oh my God, that sounds amazing. So we call it vegan chicken. That's it. Very simple.
Okay, because if you called it Satan, they'll say, Satan burger, get thee behind me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Samantha, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Maharaj.
Where you live in London? What part?
Yes, Maharaj. East London.
Oh, East London. That's right. You live near Green Street.
Yes, Maharaj.
I'm very happy that you tune in every week. It's really nice.
Thank you, Maharaj. I'm very happy to watch you on Facebook too, Maharaj.
Okay. Good seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Krishna Mohini. ¿Estás bien? How are you, Krishna Mohini? No sound. Oh. Whatever.
Just for your information, Maharaj, I looked up the origins of Satan, and it's a Japanese word. So it came from Japan. It's not related to the devil in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. All right. I accept that definition. I didn't really think it was, but because I've eaten it before. It was quite nice, actually. And, okay. Dandavats to Ireland, Suvasini.
Dandavats, Maharaj. Dandavats.
Dandavats. East London, West London. Anybody from Central London here? Nobody lives in Oh, well, there are some people who live in Central London.
Sure.
Wealthy persons.
Yeah, generally.
Okay. None of our social circle. All right. Although somebody may be prosperous amongst us. And now, Saraswati, you're in the UK now, right?
No, I'm in Sweden still.
Oh, you're still in Sweden.
Yeah, it's very cold here. -6 degrees.
Oh. How much?
-6. There's lots of snow still.
Minus 26 degrees?
No, -6. 6.
Oh, -6. Okay. It's not super cold.
It is kind of cold.
Okay. And I saw they said that they stopped giving vaccine in Sweden, right?
They're very flexible here with all that.
What was the name of the vaccine they stopped giving?
AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca. Did you get any vaccine yet, Devashish?
Yes, Maharaj, I did. I got the Pfizer one. I got the Pfizer vaccine.
Yeah, well, in Mexico, they were giving people one of the Chinese vaccines, and not even the most famous of the Chinese vaccine, which was a... Anyway. The Chinese vaccine was actually made from the old way, like from the virus itself.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm.
But that can be good. I was in India when I was young, and I had severe staph infection when I was young, and they gave me antibiotics intravenously and everything, and nothing was stopping it. And then somebody came and took me to some place, and they prepared, and this was strange, an auto vaccine, a vaccine made from my own infection, and then they did something to kill that by heat, and then they started injecting the vaccine that they made from my own infection. And first it was, 1 part per this, and then 10 times that, then 100 times that, then 1,000 times that, then 10,000. And every 3 days they were giving me injections for about a month.
Whoa.
Of this auto vaccine. And before I couldn't be cured of this, there was nothing was curing me. And after this auto vaccine, I never had that problem again. I never had that problem again in my life. So, even something may be done by the old traditional way of treating some virus, it may be effective. Maybe, Anyway, just an interjection here. So he talked to me and said, well, that's the only vaccine they're giving. And I said, well, if it was me, I'd take it.
An interjection.
Yeah. What did they say? What was the line falsely attributed to Malcolm X? They said, Guru Maharaj said, suspicion, did Guru Maharaj said suspicion leads to suspension?
Yeah, he told one devotee, your suspicion has caused your suspension.
Okay, suspicion leads to suspension. And Malcolm X, it was being falsely attributed to him. He said something similar, but they attributed to him the statement, analysis means paralysis. So suspicion leads to suspension, and analysis means analysis. I don't know if it means paralysis or leads to paralysis. Like sometimes you analyze something so much that you like.
I don't know that one.
What?
So that was our Alexa. I thought you said something to her.
What?
It's okay.
It was an election?
Alexa.
Alexa.
Yeah, you know the Amazon speaking thing.
Okay. Well,
It's a robot.
Huh?
It's a robot. Speaking robot.
It's a what?
A robot.
A robot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to analyze it, and I've become confused. So, okay. Analysis leads to paralysis. Suspicion. What is Guru Maharaj's statement? Suspicion.
Your suspicion has caused your suspension.
Yeah, but he said suspicion leads to suspension, right? All right. Well, anyway, like I was saying, like they say, a blind uncle is better than no uncle at all. That's it. That's a saying I heard in India. A blind uncle is better than no uncle at all. So, okay.
Okay, Maharaj, some words of wisdom to ponder there.
Ponder. I don't know how much wisdom's there, but I always think it's a good saying. In Spanish, they say, "En el reino de los ciegos, el tuerto es el rey." No? Is that algo así? Huh?
Maybe it's in Mexico.
They don't say that in Venezuela?
No, I never heard that.
No, si lo dicen, si lo dicen.
Lo dicen.
Yeah, it means in the kingdom of the blind, the man with one eye is king.
Yes, that's also English expression. Yeah.
Huh? Okay. Then it's bona fide.
Maharaj, super nice to see you. Always very grateful with your classes and chats during the week. Now I have to leave, but please extend my humble obeisances and to all the devotees.
Okay, I'm leaving also. This is just a prelude to hitting this switch where it says leave.
Okay, Maharaj, dhanwad.
There's Chinmoy Dave. Who started this?
Devashis Prabhu.
What?
Devashis Prabhu. It started.
Devashis. Okay. All right, Devashis. Dhanyavad.
Hare Krishna,